I was gonna joke, but I was thinking about jumpers. You know the movie Jumper, and it's like, yo, I jumped it into this. I jumped into Japan. I jumped, I jumped it. But but today we'll be talking about this book, The Power of the Neuroplasticity. It's recently new, well, recently new. I think it's in 2016 or something. Uh, if I can see 2000 something, I don't know. But let's talk about this, right? Oh no, it's old. It's a 2013. Holy crap! All right. Well, I guess it's recently now that if you're a teacher and you're teaching a class, right? And or for those who are students, adults alike, we were trained in school. We were in school, and we learn subjects like math, science, history, and other special, well, not specialized, just general information. And that I think that each student have a different learning style. Student, which some student work best with visual learning, audio, auditory, what's it called, or kinesthetic action, right? And that there is inherent problem with it in the educational system, how they teach you based upon whatever is the same material and try to regurgitate the information. And you never see the kid act on the information. And it's surprisingly anyone who is a teacher who is watching right now and are a student or are someone who was told that they didn't have the capacity to achieve things or wasn't smart enough or wasn't good enough in life to achieve something, destroy that myth right now. That myth is not worth having in your brain. Most of my life, I believed that I was stupid. I felt that the I felt that the my brain. How come that I wasn't smart as other kids? How come other kids were getting A's or B's? I mean, I get decent grades, but I think that we let the IQ. I don't believe in IQ tests. I think that the tests would if people believe in tests, it will dictate how you behave in real life, and it will dictate your perception and how it molds your brain. And that this book will change the way you see yourself and how you use your brain effectively. Ultimately, I think that school can teach us about the aspect of our brain. Like, I think that the brain is very important. I think that memories is important. I think that learning how to utilize aspect of our brain to learn effectively. I think the thing that we learn in school is ineffective. If it was effective, I think that people would be effective in their way of life, how they interact with people. But most people never actually achieve the fullest potential. And that made me sad that they have the capacity. Like, if we become aware of how the human brain functions, that we can utilize and harness this magnificent 3 pound brain that we have and that we can utilize to become great. We can build new skills, though it may be hard at times, but it will change the physical aspect of our brain. So let's talk about that. You are creating at this moment the person you're going to become tomorrow. You are physically rewiring that person in your brain. For many years, we believed that the human brain stopped growing or changing when we were young. Kids learn really fast, but we make it as if the kid was really stupid and we dumb that information down. That's why when I was in special education, I remember uh, that I was in special ed and they dumb it down and stuff like that. Why wasn't we taught like at early age to become aware of our brain? Why wasn't the material was brought into our awareness? Why? Because once you are taught about the information, it will actually become more effective. Because when we learn about the brain, it will change our behavior, how we view ourselves. And there's a lot of broken people. You know, for people who are in special education, they believe that they're dumb. They that the mistakes that they make are, they're really, they think that they don't have the potential. Or a lot of broken people don't have potential. They think that, see, the thing is, the reason why special education people or special ed kids don't believe it's because they don't understand how to utilize the brain. It wasn't taught. It was, think about it. School cram in information, right? They expect you to achieve this grade, to be able to get this grade by memorizing the facts. But memorizing the facts or vocabulary does not mean you will remember. Does not mean you get the results. True results is when you act on the information that you receive in your brain. And when you utilize the information, you can turn it into the reality by acting out. You're doing the work. You're taking the information, you put it out to the not to the universe, but to the physical world, interaction, people, uh, social media, stuff like that. But we don't understand how it works. The breakthrough of the discovery of neuroplasticity is that your brain is designed to change throughout your life. Your brain is changing at this moment, right now, no matter where you are in your life or what age you are. While you're reading, your brain is literally rewriting itself. While you're listening to me, your brain is rewiring itself. When I listen to audio, when I begin my personal development, when I start reading again, when I start listening to personal development, it changes. I think it changes the scope of my brain. That it changes my perception. It changed my experience that I experienced. I have a whole new experience in life that's different from most people. But hey, what goes in your mind and in your life changes your brain physically. When you think or do something repeatedly, your brain actually changes its physical structure. Your environment, your experience, your emotion, your attitude, your self-talk, are your perception. Your brain is imprinting itself with it message it gets. For the first time, scientists saw that the human brain, instead of being set and stagnant, continually reprogrammed and restructuring itself. They saw that the brain grew and changed moment by moment, input by input, and thought by thought. The brain was plastic, malleable, and it was not only growing new neurons, it was rewiring itself. Your brain grows and changes uh, based on feedback. What you tell it changes. And while it rewires itself, your brain then feeds those new programs, those new pictures of yourself back to you. It's a feedback loop. What you put in, you get back out. In a continuous neuroactivity feedback loop. The neuroactivity feedback loop is the process of which uh, everything we think, feel, or do imprints or rewire our brain. Our rewired brain, in turn, affect everything we think, feel, or do, which again, in turn, imprint or rewire our brain. Our perception wire our brain, and our brain, in turn, affect our perception. It's an endless loop that begins before we're born and continues the moment of our last breath. Let me talk about this. Why, for the love of God, we put information that causes us to behave in this reality? Meaning that why, we shouldn't blame your parents, society. I mean, yeah, I get that. Society has its own issues, and there's a lot of issues that we could have been solving. But if we was give it, we were given the gift of our brain, and that it evolved over the years. Why wasn't we given a manual in school? Like, why? Why is it that we just learn subject that really doesn't change our behavior? Why? Like math, sure, math. It's good to learn math, but it really doesn't change our behavior. History, I mean, a lot. Okay, so let me talk. You can like history and math and science, but ultimately, you're here to. You really want to live the way you want to live, right? Why wasn't we teach strategy and ways to change our brain physically. That we can change our perception. By changing our perception, we can change our behavior. But why wasn't we taught about psychology, human behavior? Why wasn't we taught about these things? And we wonder why these kids don't get the results that most people get. Or I'm talking about successful. Because most successful people understand about the brain. They learn it. That's why they can act upon it. I was I remember uh, I used to get into really psychology a lot. Psychology is the study of science of the mind and behavior. Now, most people will always study the uh, negative side of psychology. You know, the schizophrenia, whatever that thing called. But I'm much more interested in the cognitive function of the human brain. It is how we behave. It's how we perceive things. That's uh, because ultimately we're dealing with people. People perceive and behave differently from us because they have experiences and they have thoughts, they have knowledge or uh, whatever they have when they were a kid. It grew with them and it become the reality. Whatever you put in your mind, whatever you put in your brain, that is the reality that you see, and that is how the reality that you will behave in. Da, 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 da. From the moment you were born, every message you received was recorded in your brain. All of your perception, everything you heard, everything you saw, everything experienced through thought, every thought you thought, every message you received from every source was recorded in your brain. The messages that were repeated and therefore recorded repeatedly form neural pathways and neural networks in your brain. The process in your brain that stores all of those messages, give it everything except um, give it every day, accept everything you tell it. The storage part of your mental computer doesn't know whether what you're telling is it true or false, right or wrong, positive or negative, bad or good. Neural pathway are created by repetition, repetition, repetition. What actually happening in the brain is that each repeated message you give to your brain either create a new neural pathway or reinforce a pathway that's already there. When your brain gets a new message, it will research, do a quick it will first do a quick search to see how that message fits with other information your brain has stored it at least temporarily. Then, if it's the same message is repeated, your brain will begin to reform a new neural pathway. So let me talk about this. Temporarily, meaning when it say that the message fit with other information your brain has stored at least temporarily, meaning it's only short term memory until we repeat it enough time to become a long term memory. That is by using repetition, recall, and by actually pulling out the information and by using what they call it mind map. Because in order to actually use the brain effectively, we got to use ridiculous association pictures because people thinking pictures. Use pictures linked with word. What is it? And using colors. That's why they have mind map. I probably should do that. I used to do mind mapping because it is how your actual brain works. We think in pictures. That's why we see. Like if I tell you go into your if I tell you to picture yourself going through in your kitchen and tell you, do you see your refrigerator? What do you see? You probably say white because it will bring up to your awareness the picture. You will see it. You see when I tell you what color do you have, and you tend to think about it, but it comes in form of pictures. We don't think in words, but we think in pictures, and that the more association that you have with it, it becomes more stronger, and that the whole situation with memory is this: that we human in what was it decode encode information into our brain, and it stores it. That's why when they say that the subconscious mind, when we put information into the subconscious mind, it will believe it true, or it will believe it when you accept it. It will believe it, but it cannot tell whether it's good or negative or bad, but it accepts it because the conscious mind can reject the idea or accept it based upon how you tell it to. Basically, we are a computer, a supercomputer, a more powerful computer. Now they said that the AI are trying to, I don't know, man, terminate my habit, terminate my habit. But to the degree, see, most people believe that if you are smart, that means you're gifted or stuff like that, and that if you're stupid, that means you're gonna be stupid for the rest of your life, which is not true. And for those who are teachers that I'm trying to reach, and you're listening to this, I was a special education, and I thought I was stupid, and I probably thought I wasn't gifted or talented. But you know what I do? I read books, and it actually changed the physical structure of my brain. And also, I take the action on the information, and it also changes my physical aspect of my brain because the neurons that we have, we can make it stronger. We can build new brain cells, but we wasn't aware. By building new brain cells is by letting in new information and repeating that information over and over again. And it become a fixed idea to the subconscious mind. And that become a fixed idea in the subconscious mind is how you behave, is how what you believe, is how you see the world. And you start seeing new things. They say that once a new idea comes to your awareness, you will never go back to the way it was. Once you hear this message, you never want to go back again because you become aware of who you always can become by the information that come across to you. By when you listen to it, it changes the scopes of the reality that we live in, that we call Earth, that we can change and mold our thoughts. We can change the way we live life based upon how we experience. If we don't like the experience, let go of that experience and try new experience that we want to get. And that when we get new experience, it changes our perception, it changes our brain structure, it changes our emotion, it changes the way we see. You know, let me give you an example. If I didn't interview authors, then my brain wouldn't know any better. It mean that it wouldn't change, and I would be doing the same thing, and I wouldn't um, believe it. But when now I bring the experiences in an interview, it changes my perception, it changes my experience, my thought patterns, and how I see myself, how I interact with the world. I become more confident. I believe in myself more, and that's what you have to do. That your brain is it's a flower. Once you understand how your brain works, you can be fully engaged with life. You can now you don't now you destroy the myth of talent and gifted. Now you believe that you don't need to be gifted or talented, that you can build new skills, that you can reinforce the new skills, and it becomes part of you. It becomes second nature, right? That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for tuning in. And I hope that today will give you a new understanding about your brain. Your brain, I mean, there's more to understand the brain, and it's complex. I still haven't learned go deep into it, but there's so much rich knowledge that to learn about the brain, and then diving deep more, well, we'll understand why it behaved the way it behaved. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.